Hello, today is Friday, March 14th, and welcome to episode 426 of Fault Lines, the National Security Institute's podcast that gets you quickly up to speed 3 times a week on the national security and foreign policy debates shaking up America. I'm NSI Senior Fellow Morgan Vina, and I'm joined today by NSI's Deputy Executive Director Martha Miller, NSI Fellow Jessica Jones, and NSI Advisory Board member Lester Munson. Okay, so today we are talking about the parliamentary elections in Greenland. They were held on Tuesday, and the center-right party, the Demokraats, emerged as the winner with nearly 30% of the vote. They won 10 out of the 30 seats, and they support gradual independence from Denmark. The Nationalist Party, which you might expect advocates for the rapid independence from Denmark and closer ties to the United States, came in second with about 25% of the vote. So Greenland's prime minister, or likely prime minister, Jens Frederik Nielsen, now must form a coalition. And he has notably said that we do not want to be Americans, we do not want to be Danes, we want to be Greenlanders. And we want to build our country by ourselves. So this, of course, comes after Trump's remarks to NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, who said, I think it will happen with respect to the annexation of Greenland. So interesting points all around. I think it's also not that he really matters much to Greenland's politics anymore, but Greenland's outgoing prime minister said he would convene a meeting of party leaders to jointly reject Trump's threats. So, Martha, why does Donald Trump care about Greenland? Why are we having this conversation today?
I mean, there are genuine security concerns in the Arctic. The Chinese are very interested. The Russians are very interested. I think they're just as interested in the minerals and resources that Greenland has as Donald Trump is. I think Donald Trump, who recently traded the portrait of Thomas Jefferson with Mike Johnson to get President Polk's portrait in the White House, famously known for Manifest Destiny, seems to be very interested in perhaps emulating some of those policies today. He's viewing Greenland as being, pertinent to our North American sphere of influence that seems to be a guiding principle that is emerging in his administration. And, whether this is the correct approach or not, I think that seems to be the emerging theme. And certainly it was interesting that Donald Trump raised this in the meeting with Mark Rutte, who acknowledged the Arctic is a major security concern for NATO. I think the question is how to address that security concern, and is Donald Trump approaching it in an appropriate manner?
Mm-hmm. All right, Les, you're scowling, so it makes me think you have something on your mind. You want to share?
Well, okay. This has not been a very good Fun Friday episode so far, so we're pivoting. First of all, the party that won the election, that got the most votes in the election, got 7,500 votes. Like, let's be very realistic here about Greenland and its size and the actual possibility of it becoming, I'm using air quotes, independent. It's smaller than Alexandria, Virginia, by a lot. This is not a place that should be a sovereign nation. It's crazy. The only argument they have for being a sovereign nation, which is counterintuitive, is that they have 4 breweries. Plus 2 microbreweries. That's not insignificant, but it's not enough to be a country. They don't have a military. They don't have an airline. They hardly have their own language. They're using Danish. My forebears, the Vikings, when they landed in Greenland, couldn't make a go of it. This is not a place that should be an independent country. It's crazy. Also, green is a color that is out these days politically. We're not doing green things anymore. A bill has been introduced in Congress to rename Greenland Red, White, and Blue Land.
That's not true.
By a congressman from
Is
Georgia.
that true?
Is that real?
That is true. I'm not making that up. That is a true thing. Red, White, and Blue Land Act of 2025.
Bringing down those egg prices.
So we should be talking about beer. We should be talking about the color that is being chosen here, and we should avoid this talk of independence because it's just crazy. Those are my thoughts.
Okay, so shots fired. Jessica. So Wes claims there are probably more polar bears than people in Greenland. So, and it should not be has no right to be a sovereign nation, as if population actually determines what
whether they can do it or not. Yeah.
So
I actually don't know the stats on polar bears, so I can't use that as my footing, but I'm actually going to take a lesser argument that I've been thinking about, which is that Donald Trump is like the biggest card that all of these world leaders have to gain popularity and rally their own citizens, right? And so it's Greenlanders, all 56,000 to 7,500 voted for the winning party, but overwhelmingly want independence. Okay, Les doesn't think they can do that. Okay. But at the end of the day, they're going to have a new prime minister that has called, Donald Trump a threat to their independence. And he is going to have to contend with the administration, but he's going to also have he's going to be able to play the cards that he is the underdog in this fight against this huge administration. All one out of, every one of these 56,000 people is like, why are they picking on us? What's going on? They're going to be able to rally their European friends to be like, okay, the U.S. needs to back off. You're going to have other European citizens mad that the U.S. is coming after Greenland. And I think it does a disservice to, we have legitimate interests, obviously, in the Arctic. And instead of coming up with a coherent policy that fends off the Chinese and Russian influence, instead we're trying to annex this country. That's not going to happen, right? So what is our actual plan when that doesn't happen? What are we doing in the meantime other than threatening to annex Greenland?
Les, Martha.
Look, we already have military in Greenland. Annex is not necessarily a legal term. There are a bunch of different ways the U.S. has legal control over certain areas in the world that are not actually part of the United States, all over the Pacific, in the Caribbean. There are all kinds of different ways to have a relationship between an entity, a political entity like Greenland and the United States. You can call it annexing if you want. You can call it something else. At the end of the day,
I think they'd want to call it something else.
Well, you could
pick the term.
Right. You could say it's a compact of free association. You could say they have sovereignty on domestic issues, but the U.S. will take care of security for them. And by the way, at the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is who's providing security for Greenland. That is the thing that matters in the real world. So, Greenland is effectively already annexed to the United States. So let's just like live in the real world here.
So you think security is the main thing, but the main drivers, like the election in the U.S., the main drivers for those voting in the Greenland elections were domestic issues, healthcare, the economy, education. It's not their security.
That's fine. But the thing that matters, that I think, to the extent there's an element of truth in anything Trump is saying, is that this is about national security issues for the United States. The Arctic is important. Russia and China are playing there. We can't afford to screw around. The idea that Greenland would be an independent country is bananas, and it won't happen. It's crazier than the U.S. annexing Greenland. That's what I'm saying. The Greenlanders who think they're going to get independence, they are crazier than Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting points there. I think, look, I'd like to echo what Jess was saying about alienating our friends in Europe. I think the real question here is, what exactly is Donald Trump trying to achieve by basically pissing off our allies? Denmark has actually been one of our most steadfast, reliable allies within NATO. I don't understand how it is that that we couldn't have figured out some alternative to claiming annexation or pursuing a policy of annexation. And, given, as to Lester's point, we have a base there. Why not just work out a forces, agreement with NATO, rework our agreements with Denmark, about Greenland and work with the Greenlanders on this and make the case to them that they don't want to be doing business with China or Russia. To me, what it says is this is just another blow to NATO. This is, maybe even not as much about Greenland and Denmark as it is about being anti-EU and anti-NATO. Like a lot of these things, I guess we will see as things unfold what really is going on and what the actual goal is. Is it emulating President Polk, or is this, is this just a starting point in a negotiation to, be able to extract resources in return for the security guarantees?
All right, here's free advice for Greenland. Tell the Trump administration you're willing to renegotiate the base deal and change some of the language that doesn't matter very much in exchange for a huge amount of U.S. investment in Greenland, if in fact that's what you actually want. Let Trump call it a win, and then Greenland will get all the stuff it wants, and nothing will actually change on the ground.
I like to
because
point out,
the U.S. effectively already controls Greenland anyway.
Les usually charges a lot of money for his
That's
advice.
correct.
So that was free, Greenland. You better be thankful.
You've got a lot of free advice.
It's bananas. B-A-N-A. All right, that's her rock and roll. Thanks so much to Kelly Crowley, Claude Jennings, and the NSI staff for their help in producing today's episode. Join us on St. Patrick's Day on Monday, March 17th.
Oh, and green, which apparently is out. We should all be wearing.
Okay. I'll be wearing orange. For another episode of Fault Lines, the National Securities Institute's podcast that gets you quickly up to speed on the national security and foreign policy debates shaking up America. Fault Lines is now on YouTube, so check out our channel for a video of today's episode. If you like what you heard or saw, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.